Yes, a very good evening to you, and you're welcome to the Connacht GAA Centre of Excellence here in Bacon. We're just outside Ballyhonus, we're down the road from Knock, and we're counting down to the first of this year's Connacht Gold Mayo Senior Club Football Championship semi-finals. So a chance for us, with a few minutes to throw in, to welcome all our viewers tonight on Mayo GAA TV from near and far, as we get ready for the meeting of Knockmore and Garrymore under the Saturday night lights here in East Mayo on a beautiful evening for a game. There's a slight bite in the air, all right. We're out in the great, wild, wide open, getting plenty of fresh air and the rest, but hopefully you're all sitting comfortably at this stage and looking forward just as much as we are to the meeting of the defending county champions Knockmore and the challengers from Garrymore. It's a repeat of some famous county finals from the likes of 1973, 1976 and 1979, and delighted to have a man alongside me who played in all of those games and many more. The great Billy Fitzpatrick, the former Garrymore and Mayo forward. We'll be hearing from Billy very shortly, but before we do, let's just take a quick check on the teams. Both Damien Egan and Ray Dempsey have made a few changes just to keep us honest. So let's take a check first on the Garrymore team that starts. The vastly experienced Brian Linsky, the longest serving member of the Garrymore team. He starts in goal. Out in front of him, it's a very settled looking Garrymore defence. The good news from a Garrymore perspective is that Enda Hessian has recovered from the injury that forced him off at half time against the Mitchells in the quarter final. He starts wearing number 7, but could pop up anywhere. While up front, the one change that Damien Egan has made to the Garrymore team that was named in the match programme sees number 20, Cathal Slattery, the former Mayo minor. He starts with Enda Varley, who's the experienced Garrymore forward who's just come back from St Vincent's this season. He instead now will start on the bench. And on that Garrymore bench, Enda Varley, you'd imagine, would be the first go-to sub for the Garrymore forward line, but plenty of other options there too, with the likes of Patrick Hessian, Michael Connolly and Kieran and Brendan Cunningham as well, bringing in lots of experience. If we take a check then on the Knockmore team that starts, 2 late changes to the team named in the match programme. One of them we had been expecting certainly during the week. If the rumour mill was to be believed, Darren McHale is out with a foot injury. The Mayo forward, he will leave very big boots to fill. Number 17, Adam Naughton, comes into the Knockmore attack to replace McHale, while Ray Dempsey has also decided to start without Keith Rutledge. He is held in reserve. And number 30, James Ruddy, will start in the Knockmore full forward line. So effective, so impressive against Charlestown back in round 3. Apart from that, Colm Reap fit again and starts in goal. The team captain, David McHale, he will wear 3 as per usual, while that midfield partnership of Kevin McLaughlin and Shane McHale, so much championship experience between them, so much expectation will rest on them. So there's a quick check on the subs as well for you as we pause here in Bacon for our own Navian as the countdown continues to throw in. Great crowd in. They're still making their way down from the car park as we speak. There's going to be a wonderful atmosphere. As I mentioned, Billy Fitz is alongside me. Billy, I think we all know where your heart is tonight, but what's your head saying? Who's going to win this semi-final?
Well, I think I'd be a fool really to pick a winner here tonight, Mike, because Knockmore, Garrymore, down through the years, you just couldn't pick a winner. They're so so much alike, both clubs. They're full of passion, pride, determination, never say die attitude. And this is going to be a battle. And, you know, this game will probably be decided in the last 10 minutes, Mike, whoever is standing at that stage.
Well, as you can see, the midfielders are in position already. Numbers seem to count for very little. That's number 12, Shane Nally from Garrymore, in the centre of your picture. You may have caught a glimpse to the left of number 12 for Knockmore, Conall Dempsey. They're in there alongside Gary Golden and Shane McHale. The tactical matchups and the Ray Dempsey, Damien Egan aspect of this game will be fascinating as one tries to get the jump on the other as away we go. And in this first half, it's the champions, Knockmore, playing from left to right. They are playing down towards the Ballyhonus end of the ground, and they're on the attack right from the get-go. Shane McHale pops it through and takes the return. Heavy hit, no free given by a referee, Jerome Henry, the first time, but he gives the second one all right. Knockmore had to work for that, and Shane McHale in particular is looking a little the worse for wear after picking up a couple of heavy hits. But he's won his free, and he shows he means business, Billy, right from the start.
Certainly, and the Garrymore defence won't feel happy with that, Mike, because they really opened them up there, and it looks like at one stage that the ball would be in the back of the net. It was a great chance of a goal, but again, they crowded back and saved it.
Well, no surprise that it's Aidan Norm who opens the scoring here. The Knockmore number 14 has hardly put a foot wrong all season, and the first score in this county semi-final goes the way of the pre-match favourites and the defending county champions from Knockmore, as we get a first chance to see what Brian Linsky, the Garrymore goalkeeper, will come up with here. Started his career in the forward line, and a very good forward he was. Drives that kick right over the head of the onrushing Liam Horkin, beaten in the foot race by Kevin McLaughlin. Now, I had heard that in the build-up that Garrymore were planning to send young Liam Horkin on a man-marking job on Kevin McLaughlin, and that looks to be the way it's panned out. We'll try and fill you in on the other main matchups once things settle down. It certainly looks like Gary Golden and this man, Shane McHale, will be in close proximity as well. And what a matchup that will be. Two of the biggest, strongest and most seasoned midfielders in Mayo club football. Touch on this near side for Marcus Park. Very neat and tidy corner back into the centre. This is Adam Nyochton, brother of Peter. Gets his start in the absence of the injured Darren McHale, and now Kevin McLaughlin glides onto that ball. Faced out by Liam Horkin. McLaughlin chips it into the centre for Ruddy. So good in the air. He's managed to hold off two defenders. Jerome Henry is playing an advantage. There's none coming, so he's going to bring it back and give the free in. Yeah,
good play again by Knockmore. Good back in defence. A great win there by McLaughlin, beating Liam Horkin, who has tremendous pace, but he just overtook him there and won that vital ball. And from there they built their attack, built it up slowly and got it into a scoring position. This is a free for Orm.
So this stoppage just gives us a chance to look down at the other end. I see Paul Deely is in at full forward for Garrymore. He's being marked by David McHale as Aidan Norm gets right underneath that and knocks it up into the night sky here in Bacon. One back there by Kenneth Lydon, moved clear by Trevor Nally. And here's his brother Shane. He wears 12 but drifts between the half forward line, midfield and the half back line as Gary Golden, one of Garrymore's most outstanding performers this season, takes a touch or two and links with Quillan Crowe. You can see he's wearing some quite heavy strapping on his left knee, the former Mayo defender. Takes the return pass and drives up towards the 45. He's got a few runners to his right as Garrymore makes some headway in the shadow of the dome on the far side of the field. Nice, neat chip lift by Cathal Slattery, wearing 20, looks to have started out in the half-forward line. This is Trevor Nally, shoots high and shoots the equaliser. Terrific score from Garrymore, worked so particularly down that right-hand side, and Trevor Nally flashes over the levelling score.
Yeah, I seen him doing this in Claremorris against Castlebarry. Kicked an unbelievable point from about 50 yards out on that side of the field. But just a brilliant club footballer, Shane Nally.
Quick kick out
Trevor Nally
from Colm Reap. Kieran King has got forward. He's the +1 so often when Knockmore are on the back foot. Here's David McHale. Just look where the full back is. Knockmore have committed men forward. They've tracked upfield in pursuit of Garrymore men, and it very nearly created an opening, but the ball lost by David McHale, scooped up by Kenneth Lydon, and the man from Ballyglass, the Garrymore fullback, bends his back and gets his free. Just on this near side, Darren Quinn, wearing 14, has started in the half-forward line and is being marked by Nathan Armstrong, who would be seen as one of Knockmore's strongest man markers. So obviously Darren Quinn seen as a big threat by Knockmore. Here's another big threat, Cathal Slattery, man who's worn the green and red of Mayo at underage level. Very talented young footballer. Recycles that ball. Garrymore content to come backwards to go forwards. Denali's combined. Trevor to Shane. They're into the Knockmore half again. Knockmore have dropped 14 men back between their own goal and the ball just to try and clog it up as Darren Quinn beats the first man and the second, and he's drawn a foul. Well, he's a very skillful, balanced young forward, Darren Quinn, and once he got that ball in his hands, he had Knockmore men backpedaling free in.
Yeah, and there was 3 or 4 defenders there and just couldn't stop him, but he's a very strong, powerful guy, a lot of pace, and he just took them on there and pulled the free.
Well, just while the play is stopped now, we'll try and fill in some of the blanks in terms of the matchups, and the one that will catch your eye, whether you're a Garrymore fan or a Knockmore fan, Enda Hessian is marking Aidan Orme at the moment. We've got Jamie Oates on Peter Knockton, and way in at the edge of the square, all in their own, is Kenneth Lydon, the Garrymore fullback, and Big James Ruddy, the Knockmore full forward. As back in the game, the free is popped up and over the bar. That was nicely done by Mark Tierney, and Garrymore out in front for the first time, Billy, and they've hit 2 in a row.
Oh yeah, in the last couple of minutes now, they've won an awful lot of ball, contested an awful lot of ball.
Ball is drilled downfield and picked up by Pierce Rutledge. He's been so good in so many games. Lovely ball right in front of Conall Dempsey, who turns, who picks his spot and hits the target. Knockmore back on level terms inside 60 seconds, and we've said it before, Billy, and I'm sure we'll say it again, they move the ball so quickly from defence to attack.
Yeah, they move with the boot, but it was a brilliant pass to put Dempsey clear to kick that point, but they're so fast on the counter-attack.
Pierce Rutledge it was with the assist. If you had him in your fantasy football team, you'd be happy. Line ball on this near side, taken by Liam O'Cork, and he's left Quillen Crowe there with some work to do, and that was a big hit by Adam Knockton, and Crowe took it and bounced back up again. He's as hard as nails, as is this man, Gary Golden, down the line towards David Dolan, joined at the hip by Kieran King, and King, who doesn't take too many backward steps either, tidies it up, and Colm Reap will get it clear and sweeps it over to the far side, and Knockmore now have some time and they have some space. Conor Flynn, the fleet-footed left half back, ball drilled inside, bounces off the chest of Pierce Rutledge and falls kindly for Aidan Orme. Knockmore retain possession. This first of the Connacht Gold Mayo senior football semi-finals is really being played at a quite blistering pace. 2 points apiece. They could not be any closer. Nathan Armstrong cuts in field and finds some open road. He's got support from Marcus Park. Shane Nally comes across to try and shut down the First Avenue. Ball spilled by Peter Knockton in the tackle. Park just somehow manages to lift it on the run. Does really well there. Ball popped out as far as Armstrong. Pierce Rutledge, and Pierce Rutledge has fired that up and over the bar. That's some score from the county champions.
Yeah, again, their build-up is very good, Mike. They're picking out the passes, the boot pass, the hand pass. They have the player on the shoulder all the time, and that was a great finish. But they're really trying to open Garrymore for a goal.
Well, we haven't played 10 minutes yet, and already you can see why everybody was so excited about this semi-final. They are so finely balanced on paper, and that's how it's playing out so far as well. Quillen Crowe there looked to touch that on the ground. Jerome Henry didn't think so. It's all very tight though by Garrymore. Paul Deely is dispossessed, and the ball cleared away by David McHale. Space on the far side for Conall Dempsey to run into. Big strong man, eats up the ground, drills it inside. Again, it's a low ball, just the way the Knockmore inside forward line wanted. Ruddy gets the shot away all right, but had his angles a little wrong, and easy for Linsky. Out to the corner back, Justin Commons, and Garrymore will build from the back, and Gary Golden. Kieran King is the nearest Knockmore player to him. They're trying to get Shane McHale back into position, and McHale got there. He was at full stretch there as he dived in to stop that ball reaching its Garrymore target. And you can see already, Billy, Knockmore seem to be dropping Kieran King back in front of David McHale, and then Shane McHale sits in at 6 when they don't have the ball.
They're just guarding that area there in front of their goal, Mike.
And that allows the wing backs in particular to get forward in support of their attack and create some overlaps. As over on the far side, Garrymore trying to make life difficult for their opponents, and they've done that. They've turned it over. Cathal Slattery in the right place at the right time, and the roving man is pulled and fouled, and some extra yardage because Adam Yachten didn't get out of his road quickly enough. Free to Garrymore. Slattery hears the call from Trevor Nally. That's high from Marcus Park, and that is an easy decision for Jerome Henry to make. It's a free in.
Yeah,
it will be a card.
I'd say, Mike.
Yeah, it was high, and not for the first time though, Billy. Trevor Nally, the first man into the line.
Look at Trevor Nally, is the heart and soul of Garrymore for the last 7-8 years, and you know, coming from half back, he does so much good work. He sets up scores, and you've seen the point he took from the far sideline there. He can do all those things.
So Mark Tierney, the 32-year-old Garrymore corner forward, he has got a lot of experience under his belt. He would have been there back in 2017 when Garrymore pushed Castlebar Mitchell to the pin of their collar in the county semi-final, took them to a replay before they were eventually beaten. And Mark Tierney makes no mistake, that's his second point from a free, and it's enough to level the game again. The sides level now for the third time here at the Connacht Centre of Excellence in Bacon. Kick out from Reap eventually finds its way into a Knockmore man's hand. Nathan Armstrong gets his head up. He's looking for the run of Aidan Orme, but that was well cut out in there by the cornerback Justin Commons. He's been playing really well, Justin Commons. Born and bred just a stone's throw from the football pitch in Garrymore. Ball played inside to Ruddy. Danger here. Ruddy goes low. And Brian Linsky, I'm sure, will tell you he had it covered, but that one whistles just the far side of the post.
Yeah, that little bit more dangerous than Garrymore when they attack, Mike. They've been opening that defence, and they're looking like they're looking for that goal, and yeah, getting very, very close to it.
Well, one thing that has struck us here in the first 10 or 12 minutes is just how switched on Knockmore are when they go forward. They're trying to get their line balls taken quickly. They're trying to isolate players inside. And as Billy mentioned, they are hunting a goal. You can sense it. They're looking to open up that Garrymore defence as quickly as they can. Gary Golden makes some room for himself and drives this into the corner. Bit of work for Mark Tierney to do, but he's got the head start on the cornerback Sean Holmes, close to the end line, trying to make an angle. Support a little slow in getting to him. Now Justin Commons arrives on the scene. Commons is closed down quickly. David Dolan picks it on the run. No free. In fact, it's a free out against David Dolan. Jerome Henry felt he held on too long, and that did seem a little harsh.
That was a free in for me because he certainly had his hand on him, and he pulled him to the ground.
No surprise to see Knockmore have taken the free quickly though, and they're on their bikes and away downfield. Pierce Rutledge, such a good finisher, but also a man that can link defence and attack, as Knockmore tried their luck down the left-hand side. Conal Dempsey, man who lined out with the Mayo under-20s earlier this year. Such a big man, you'd mark him down as being 10 years older at times. Dempsey off his left, but it was an awkward-looking effort. It came off the outside of his boot
it was
and wide.
never on from that angle. But you have to say that Jamie Owes covered him well there. He stuck with him, and he made him make that kind of a clearance, really.
Short kick out from Brian Linsky to Quillen Crowe, and all's well that ends well for Garrymore. They work it out of defence into the hands of Crowe again. The entire back line revolves around Quillen Crowe. But Billy, thought it's just struck me, we're a quarter of an hour in, and I don't think we've mentioned Enda Hessian yet. No,
he's doing a marking job, which I don't know. I think against Castlebar at this stage he had a goal and 2 points scored.
Well, he's just played a lovely pass to Cathal Slattery. Hessian to Slattery, the old 1-2, and over it goes. Well, they're two of the names synonymous with Garrymore GA club for years and years and years. Johnny Slats was a serious wing forward back in the day, and Cathal, well, he can do it, and Garrymore are back in front. They lead 4-3. That's Cathal Slattery's first of the game. Crowe off balance, one-handed, takes it down at his leisure. Quillen Crowe has settled in at centre-back, let's put it that way, to David Dolan, the midfield dynamo, to Slattery, whose confidence is high after that point a moment ago. He's looking for another one. Chalk it down. Cathal Slattery with 2 in a row. And the 22-year-old inside forward has found his range twice in 60 seconds.
Yeah, Cathal is a very exciting player. He has great pace, and once he gets on the ball, he has that kind of pace that makes room for himself to shoot. And with the left boot there, kicked 2 points in a row there.
Well, that's 3 in a row now for Garrymore. They've hit 3 points without reply. The free from Mark Tierney, 2 from play from Cathal Slattery. And I make it about 8 minutes, give or take, since Knockmore's last score. Ball flies low through the air, and Garrymore's half back line now are starting to hum. Enda Hession to Gary Golden. Hession was hit late. Garrymore want a free. Enda Hession a little slow getting back to his feet. Jerome Henry, he either didn't see it or he wasn't interested, but either way, Garrymore leave empty-handed. But the good news is Enda Hession back to his feet very quickly. He did take a big hit there, but Knockmore have lost the ball on the way out. Tierney, Cathal Slattery is absolutely flying, this time off his right, and Cathal Slattery right now can do no wrong. 2 off his left, his naturally stronger foot, and the 3rd off his right, and Cathal Slattery has just kicked Garrymore into a 3-point lead.
Yeah, and I didn't think he had a right boot at all, Mike. But, he had no option really but to get onto the right, but it was a very tight ankle. But you have to say that Knockmore are in a bit of trouble here at the moment. It's all about Garrymore at this stage.
Well, Damien Egan's decision to start Cathal Slattery ahead of Enda Varley is paying off in spades, and the challengers, who haven't been to a county senior final since 1982, lead here 6-3, but Knockmore are on the attack. Ball carried forward initially by Conor Flynn, and a free out against Marcus Park for hanging on too long.
I think referees have really begin to do this, Mike. The fella with the ball and being pulled and taken down just doesn't get a free anymore.
Well, Garrymore, though, making life very hard for themselves. They've given the ball away so cheaply after winning the free. And Peter Nyochton with those dancing feet, selling dummies, as always, like they're going out of fashion. And he's won a free, and Garrymore only have themselves to blame.
Yeah, a turnover there that, that lost that ball coming out of defence. But, the last 6-7 minutes has belonged to Garrymore, and they just put the scores on the board, 6-3. So they'll be happy with that coming into the water break.
Well, Knockmore have watched Gary kick 4 in a row, and they need this, and that's the second time that Aidan Orme has ballooned a shot up into the air, up into the night sky, and it's very, very uncharacteristic. He's such a lovely striker of ball normally, and it's a perfect evening for free taking, but that's a free out to Garrymore. So Knockmore just not quite firing on all cylinders in the last 10 minutes.
No, and missing those kind of frees, Mike, doesn't at a semi-final of a championship in Mayo. No.
So it remains 6 points to 3. Garrymore, who have come in here unbeaten, 3 wins and a draw in their 4 games en route to the semi-final. They are making the early running. They are setting the pace after 17 and a half minutes here in Bacon. Kieran King surveying his options, looking left and right. Everybody's covered though. Garrymore wants the ball to be hopped. Eventually Kieran King takes the line ball, bounces awkwardly, just wrong-footed James Ruddy. And already, Billy, you can see Darren McHale's absence being felt in the Knockmore forward line.
Certainly. But, at the moment, Garrymore are playing so well. They're playing with a fierce determination and drive. And they're really putting an awful pressure on Knockmore.
That was Cathal Slattery that has set Darren Quinn away. The former St. Charlotte's College Tuam student was trying to pop it inside to Paul Deely. Jerome Henry saw some fouling. I think it was by Nathan Armstrong on Deely. Free in from the 20-metre line. And this should be well inside the range of Paul Deely. A man who transferred a few years ago to Garrymore GA club from Shannon Bridge in County Offaly. Hit 4 points in the quarter-final win over Mitchells. Normally very reliable from this sort of range. And a man for the big occasion, Paul Deely, pops over his first free, his first point. And just look at that scoreline now as the referee, Jerome Henley, blows the whistle for the water break to tell us we've reached the End of the first quarter, and Garrymore lead Knockmore by 7 points to 3, Billy.
Yeah, and the difference between the two sides, Mike, is Garrymore are taking their scores. I don't know if they had a wide so far in the game, but their kicking is unbelievable. And Slattery with 3 brilliant points, Dealey, Mark Tierney with frees, and Trevor Nally with probably the score of the day so far. Knockmore find it hard to get into any kind of a rhythm. They looked in the first 6-7 minutes that they were opening the Garrymore defence, but Garrymore have tightened up that now. And I just seen Enda Hessian going up the field, and that's where Garrymore need Hessian making those kind of runs at the Knockmore defence.
Well, you can see there's some straight talking, some plain talking, I'm sure, being done by the Knockmore mentors and the leadership group as well, because the county champions now are they're just painting themselves into a bit of a corner. They haven't scored for 11 minutes. They've conceded 5 points without reply. 3 of them have come from the boot of Cathal Slattery. And Billy, for viewers who may not be fully aware of just how good he is or where he's been maybe over the last few weeks or months, fill us in. He's a very, very talented young forward, isn't he?
He's just a brilliant young forward, but I would often say that he wasn't selfish enough, Mike, that he was always looking for somebody to pass the ball off to, but tonight he's knocking them over the bar.
Well, he has been scoring for fun. As away we go again then. Second quarter begins on a lovely evening for a match here in Bacon. Conditions absolutely perfect, and there's a big crowd in, as you'd imagine. Many of them will remember those famous finals back in the 70s when Garrymore and Knockmore ruled the roost in senior football. So much has changed in the 40 plus years since. Knockmore are back on top, all right, but right now they have a job of work in their hands to stay there as Garrymore continue to set the pace. Lovely ball by Dempsey, right in front of Ruddy. Back to Pierce Rutledge, trying to wrong foot Shane Nally, but that's easier said than done. Here's Orm, he's misfired a few times, and Aidan Orm shoots high and wide. Just hasn't brought his shooting boots with him yet.
And they've kicked a lot of wides there now, and they've been threatening, but they're not getting the scores, Mike, and Garrymore will be very happy at this stage with that score.
Brian Linsky, the man from Garrymore, gets under that. He's looking for Gary Golden. He's being shadowed, shall we say, by Shane McHale. There's a fair bit of bumping and banging going on when the ball is dropping out of the clouds, but this time decision goes Knockmore's way. Dempsey looks up. Again, he's going long. Again, he's going direct. Orm out in front, manages to win it, decides to play on, doesn't take the mark. He's run right into 3 Garrymore men. He's having to work hard to make any sort of ground. Jerome Henry lets Knockmore play away. Kevin McLaughlin looking to get onto that favoured left foot. Goes around the house a little and back to Dempsey. Once more, Dempsey's first instinct is to go long again. The run is made by Peter Knockton. He's looking to lose Justin Commons and come in along the end line. Little dummy pass. Knockton still going. And Knockton, his gallop stopped by the solid shoulder of Trevor Nally.
Overplaying the ball, Mike, you have to say. Like, he had a chance there to fist that ball over the bar, which would be the sensible thing to do. Again, he was looking for the goal. The goal chance wasn't on. The Garrymore defence closed it down. Chance gone. And, Garrymore are loving this.
Well, they most certainly are. As Cathal Slattery, the scorer of 3 points, pops up at right corner back. That will show you how hard Garrymore are working in this first half and how hard they've worked to put themselves into this position. Brian Linsky plays it out to the corner back. Jamie Oates gets his head up and finds David Dolan, the midfielder from Pulbon. The milking will have been done early this evening in the Dolan household. You can be sure about that. As Kenneth Lydon tries to deliver it in front of Mark Tierney. But that was a crucial interception by Sean Holmes, who got his right hand in the way. The Knockmore man down on the deck. I think it may be Adam Knockton, but he's getting back up again. As Knockmore play away. Ball delivered inside to Pierce Rutledge again. Back to the cornerback. Sean Holmes goes around the corner to find the run of Aidan Orm. Enda Hessian is his designated man marker. There's a chance for Holmes, saved by Linsky. Shane Nally can't clear it, and eventually it squirts out into the arms of Enda Hessian. Well, that was Sean Holmes, the cornerback, who popped up closest to goal, didn't make a clean strike, didn't make clean contact, but Brian Linsky did what he's there to do. Danger still not fully clear though. Ruddy trying to bulldoze through. Out comes Linsky, free out for overcarrying. Well, there is Knockmore's goal threat. It finally emerged after some 20 minutes, and Linsky to the rescue.
I seen him against the Mitchells making about 3 brilliant saves, and he's just a great keeper. But that was an exceptional save there from Linsky.
Now it's Garrymore's turn to have a go. Trevor Nally again driving them forward from right half back. Every chance he gets, manages to pop the pass out. Not quite sure how he managed it. That's Mark Tierney, and drops just short, taken down by Colm Reap, who was of course Mayo's third choice goalkeeper throughout the course of the 2021 championship. Kieran King now. We're in the 25th minute. Knockmore haven't scored since the 7th. The county champions finding it very difficult to put scores on the board, and Garrymore full value just now for this 4-point lead. And Garrymore, Billy, happy, sit in, soak up the pressure and challenge Knockmore to break them down.
They're tackling the intensity in their tackles, they've really upset Knockmore. They're giving them no time or space on the ball.
Well, they played to a very definite system. Damien Egan, their manager, son of the former Mayo footballer Anthony Egan. He has done his homework. He's a very shrewd coach, and he will be happy, I'm sure, with what he's seen so far. Now, Jerome Henry has spotted a tug on a jersey off the ball, and this will give Peter Knockton perhaps a chance to get that scoreboard moving again from a Knockmore perspective. We haven't had a score since the water break as Knockmore go quick and short, and that's Pierce Rutledge, and he's been taken down in the tackle. And this is a much more favourable angle for Peter Knockton, who didn't fancy taking on that first shot, obviously. Pierce Rutledge, though, has picked up a knock, and this will mean a stoppage for a moment or two. Chance for everybody to catch their breath. But I suppose from a Knockmore perspective, Billy, if you're in the Knockmore management team right now, what's the message you're looking to get into your players? What do you change to try and get things going?
Well, I think the most important thing is to take their points, Mike. They're getting in around the Garrymore goal, but they're looking for goals, and the Garrymore defence is closing it down. So let's take a few simple points.
Pierce Rutledge, from a Knockmore point of view, the good news is he's back on his feet as he limps back into his position. Peter Knockton converts the free, and that brings that long, barren spell without a score to an end for the county champions. 7-4, still finely balanced. Linsky clips it nice and gently into the lap of Shane Nally, who calls the mark. Gives it to Quillan Crowe. Crowe has support from Enda Hession. Hard to believe he's still only 20 years of age, the young Mayo half-back. To Gary Golden. Bit longer in the tooth, Gary Golden. He's 27. Pops it outside to Commons, who's come up from corner back. Hand pass though was telegraphed. He may as well have tweeted that to Kevin McLaughlin. McLaughlin was in front and he's won his free. And that very promising attack ends quite tamely in the end.
Yeah, just overdone the pass there, Mike. It was really never on.
Well, a black card for Justin Commons. Now this is has the potential, Billy, to be a big turning point. I can only assume it was for either a deliberate pull down or a body collide. Pull down.
Yeah, deliberate pull down, I would say, Mike, yeah.
So Justin Commons is in the bin, and he will be in there for 10 minutes. So that means that Knockmore will have an extra man for the last 3 minutes of normal time, plus VAT and whatever we have then at the start of the second half as well. But could that be a watershed? And how will Knockmore now decide to use that spare man as Gary Golden drives up the middle? Not a man for taking the long way around. Takes the shortest route to goal. Now Paul Deely. Garrymore now, you'd imagine, will try and hold the ball, run down the clock a little and protect what they have. Cathal Slattery covers the ground so quickly. Ball ran away from him, but works out all right. Darren Quinn was on the same page. Quinn, he's stolen a glance at the goal. He looks like he wants to have a go, and he has. It's going to drop just short. Reap jumps for it, beaten. And that just flies wide off the fist, I'd imagine, of David Dolan. Well, that could have gone anywhere, Billy.
Yeah, that could have gone, yeah. I mean, that was a brave attempt there for a point, and it wasn't far off, but it was a hard ball for the goalie to really judge.
Well, David Dolan, you'd have got some odds on him to score the first goal of this county semi-final, but not to be. Still Garrymore, though, tipping along 3 in front as Adam Knockton sallies downfield to Conall Dempsey. Looks like he means business. He's looking for the run inside of Conor Flynn, but well read by Shane Nally. Who else? Cute as a fox, Shane Nally. He read the play, and Garrymore will now try and hit Knockmore on the break. Gary Golden, so much ball goes through the big number 9 to Slattery. Out in front, he's been caught by Park. Now, the reason Garrymore have reacted the way they have is because Marcus Park is on a yellow card.
Yeah.
And I think they want more action taken. Now, the linesman on this near side, John Finn from Ahamore, is heading in for a quick word with Jerome Henry. And whether action is taken, we'll have to wait and see. Doesn't look like he's going to. And Marcus Park, Billy, is walking a very fine line.
He sure is. And that was one that could have been a yellow card there.
So free to Garrymore. Mark Tierney to take it. So no rap on the knuckles, no quiet word for Marcus Park. We're in the final minute of normal time. At the end of the first half, we've just been told we'll have at least 1 minute of additional time. So about 90 seconds or so for Knockmore to try and make this extra man count. Remember, in case you've joined us late, Justin Commons, the Garrymore cornerback, is currently in the sin bin. But it is the outsiders, Garrymore here, who have the advantage. Looking to go where no Garrymore team have gone for 39 years into a county senior final. Kieran King. There's a Knockmore man down injured just here in front of us, receiving attention. So that means there are 14 against 14 in terms of how this move develops. Pierce Rutledge wins that ball, shields it from the defender, and there's been a push spotted, and Knockmore have got a free in. But they're finding it very difficult to break that defensive shell, that defensive shield around the Garrymore goal.
Even that last attack, Mike, they weren't, they were going straight through. There was a point for the taken, but the pass went in to get a goal, and that's what they're really getting caught on all the time in that first half. Is they're looking for the goal, Mike. It's not coming. The Garrymore defence are getting the bodies in there. They're turning it over, and Knockmore are walking into a trap, really.
So it's Peter Knockton, the leading scorer for Knockmore in the championship this season with the free. It's gone across the face of goal and it's gone wide. And this is another issue now for Knockmore. Both their first choice free takers, who are normally so good, Peter Knockton and Aidan Orme, are having an off night.
Yeah, there have been, I don't know how many wides to have kicked. I'd say up to 6-7 wides in the game so far, whereas Garrymore are, shooting the lights out at the other end of the field.
So we're into additional time at the end of the first half. Still, Garrymore lead by 3, and they're far from finished. Nice, strong, penetrating run made by Liam Horkin. This is Darren Quinn. Quinn looking for a spectacular one, and the roar of the Garrymore crowd will tell you that was right over the black spot. Well, Garrymore have come to play. They have brought their A game. And the referee, Jerome Henry, blows the half-time whistle with the county champions in a real dogfight. They have fallen 4 points behind. They scored just once in the last 25 minutes of that first half. And it is Garrymore, Billy, who deservedly go to the break 8-4 ahead.
Yeah, they're not afraid to shoot, Mike. And they're shooting from distance, 30, 40 yards out, which is rare in today's game. Where at the other end of the field, Knockmore are trying to walk the ball into the Garrymore net, and it's not happening for them because Garrymore are getting the numbers back. They're putting the bodies in the way, and they're just making those simple mistakes. There was 4 or 5 easy points to be taken there by Knockmore, but what did they do? Give the final pass, trying to get in for a goal. Got turned over every time. So that's the difference really in the two teams. Garrymore are just going for the scores from distance. They're not working it through. They haven't got a goal chance yet, but they've got the points, Mike. And that's what's important in this game. They're 4 points up at half time.
So just before we take our leave of you for a few minutes, just to give you 1 or 2 standout statistics, 5 different scorers for Garrymore in this first half, 5 points from play. while on the Knockmore side, just the 2 points from play so far, and it is 3 frees from Peter Nyochton and Aidan Orme that is keeping them in touch. And by the looks of things, Adam Nyochton will play no further part in this county semi-final. He will be replaced for the second half by, I think it's going to be number 24, Charlie Burke. So it's turning out to be one of those nights, one of those evenings for the county champions Knockmore. They're going to have to come from behind if they're to stay in the championship and reach back-to-back finals for the first time since 1997. All will be revealed over the next 40 minutes or so. But as we take our leave of you briefly, just to recap, at half-time here in the Connacht GA Centre of Excellence in Bacon, it's Garrymore 8 points, Knockmore 4. And you're very welcome back to the Connacht GA Centre of Excellence here in Bacon. The half-time has come and gone quickly, as is always the case on big championship nights like this. Everybody keen to get going, get started again. I know a lot of people getting in touch with us via social media and via WhatsApp. We seem to be coming through loud and clear everywhere, from the heart of South Mayo to the heartlands in North Mayo, in Garrymore and Knockmore country. And who knows, Billy, we could be watched in North Korea and South Africa as well. Who knows?
I'm sure, Mike. Yeah.
Confirmation just coming through, by the way, that that Knockmore substitution we flagged before half time. It is now confirmed. Number 24, Charlie Burke, is on instead of the injured Adam Nyochtan. And just looking around to see if any other changes have been made. In fact, there is another one. Ray Dempsey has decided to take out number 2, Marcus Park, who was on a yellow and had committed another foul as well. He's been taken off, and in comes number 13, Keith Rutledge, who had been named to start anyway. So the county champions are throwing everything at this, and they have to, Billy, really, because right now they're in dire straits.
Yeah, they're under pressure, really, and this is a Garrymore team that's bang on form this evening, Mike, and they're taking no prisoners, and certainly their defence, are really closing down the Knockmore forward line. But you'd have to say Knockmore, if they were doing the sensible thing, to take a few points rather than looking for goals all the time.
So referee Jerome Henry gets the second half underway. We really have a bird's eye view of the action. If we were any closer to the Garrymore dugout, Billy, I'd say you could be handed a slip of paper at any moment. We're right in the heart of it here at the Connacht Centre of Excellence in Bacon, just where you want to be, at the cutting edge of the atmosphere as well. That's Conal Dempsey, who drives his way through. And what about that for a response? The son of the manager, Ray, shows the way, leads the way, and leaves it 8-5 to Garrymore.
Yeah, he's just a fine footballer, Mike. He has the power and the strength there. He went through one or two tackles, and under pressure from the right-hand side, kicked a big point there. It's something that Knockmore needed right away after half-time. That's
a second of the evening for Conal Dempsey, as Brian Linsky gets ready to take this kick out. Knockmore, quite noticeably, have pushed right up, man on man, forcing Linsky to kick long towards Gary Golden, smashed forward by Shane McHale. Liam Horkin, first man to react to the break, man who played on that St. Coleman's College Claremorris team back in 2019 that won a Senior A championship. Another one of his teammates that played on that team, Enda Hessian, just 2 years ago, playing colleges football. And look where he is now, as Quillan Crowe strides forward again from centre back. Celebrates his 30th birthday tomorrow, Quillan Crowe. It could be quite the night back in Roundfort and that neck of the woods, I'd imagine, if Garrymore win this, and Quillan Crowe has a big birthday tomorrow. But still, a lot of football to be played in this. And how many times over the years, Billy, have we seen Knockmore teams in positions like this come from behind and win?
Yes, Mike, I know all about it at times.
Yeah, I think you may be thinking about 1973 there, Billy.
Yeah, and a few more with it.
But right now, it's Garrymore playing confident football, throwing it around, hanging on to it. And now Quillan Crowe comes from the half-back line again, the springboard for so much of the good work Garrymore do. Clips it forward, beautifully done. And the mark called confidently by Mark Tierney. Well, he's been moving with real menace around that forward line all evening, Mark Tierney. Man from the townland of Ballyhera. He can kick sweetly off left and right. And Mark Tierney's first from play restores Garrymore's 4-point lead.
Yeah, very accurate player, Mark. Has been there for donkey's years, really. Great servant of Garrymore football.
Well, his sister, Sarah Tierney, one of the best ladies footballers in Mayo. I'm sure she's tuned in from Sydney in Australia tonight, or would that be early morning out there, as advantage is played to Knockmore. Aidan Orme goes through to Dempsey, the battering ram. Dempsey! Low, hard and wide. Yeah. Everybody waiting for the net to bulge. Shot flashes wide of Linsky's goal.
Again, looking for the goal, Mike, and the sensible thing is to take a point. But they've been looking for that goal all night. Now they're very close to it, but I mean, again, overplayed it. Was it their full forward? was through there.
Conor Dempsey.
Colin Dempsey. You know, fist the ball over the bar, you know, take a point. But they're just looking for those goals and they're not coming.
Stoppage here. Enda Hessian is the Garrymore player who's down and getting some attention. He actually scored a goal in each of Garrymore's last 2 games. Enda Hessian, a goal against Brafey here in Bacon, a goal against Castlebar Mitchells in Claremorris as well. But his primary role this evening has been keeping tabs on Aidan Orme, and he's done that really well. Aidan Orme hasn't scored from play, and right now I'm sure Garrymore are just a little concerned about the welfare of Enda Hessian, because of course as well, Billy, Knockmore still have the extra man. Justin Commons is still in the bin, but that's that clock now is starting to run down.
It's beginning to run down now, and you know, you wouldn't really notice the extra man for Knockmore at this stage. Now Enda's okay.
Yeah, by my count, I think since Justin Commons went to the bin, Garrymore have outscored Knockmore by 2 points to 1. So a couple of minutes left before Garrymore are restored to the full complement. That injury to Enda Hessian has been looked after, and away we go again. Garrymore still keeping Knockmore at arm's length as Keith Rutledge plays a hopeful ball, optimistic ball, shall we say. Works out, gathered by Nathan Armstrong. Here's Pierce Rutledge, Keith's younger brother. Back to Nathan Armstrong again. He doesn't score very often. He's gone for this one. Dangerous ball, fisted away back there and fisted clear. And that's high by Shane McHale on Shane Nally. I think they might have played minor football together many moons ago for Mayo, McHale and Nally. But that was a frustrated looking tackle. Right in front of Jerome Henry, and no surprise to see the card, and no surprise either, Billy, to see that Garrymore will run down this clock a little longer here. They'll take their time. They have Knockmore where they want them.
They certainly have, and you know, Knockmore are under pressure, Mike. You know, they're that little bit nervous. You'd have to think that, you know, that they're not able to get the scores, but again, it's their own fault, and I keep saying it. What is wrong with a few simple points? They're still looking for that goal, and they're opening up Garrymore, there's no doubt about that, but they didn't get that goal yet.
Well, you may have seen the Garrymore number 4, Justin Commons, there jog through your picture a few moments ago. He's back on. He has had his break in the bin, and it's 15, plays 15. And Damien Egan will be absolutely delighted with the way Garrymore managed that period when they were down to 14 men. They lost no ground. In fact, I think they may have made a bit of ground as Enda Varley gets ready to come in. He's stripped and ready. Those 6 stars across the back of the Garrymore jerseys tonight, representing the 6 county senior titles they've won down the years. The last of them back in 1981 as Cathal Slattery tries to tiptoe his way through the Knockmore backline. Nothing doing this time. Shane McHale, it was, back playing bouncer in the Knockmore defence. Now Dempsey, 12 on 12. Dempsey confronted by Nally. Shane Nally forces Dempsey to go sideways. Now the angle support run comes from Conor Flynn. That was a hospital ball, really. Popped out to Charlie Burke. Heavy collision, and the Garrymore man actually has picked up the bigger knock. And now Garrymore make the change. It's 15 for 11. It's Enda Varley for Paul Deely. And this, Billy, spells all sort of trouble for the Knockmore backline, because Enda Varley is 35 years of age. He's as cute as they come. And he's such a good player.
Yeah, he carries all that experience into a game like this, Mike. And, you know, you can't buy that kind of experience. And the other thing is, he's a great ball winner. He's great vision, but he also can take scores.
Well, I'm sure he came back to Garrymore for one last dance, as it were, and to try and help them to get to a county final, to maybe win a county title. Well, they're making a very good job of it so far, and Enda Varley on now to try and help them home. Meanwhile, Knockmore are also making a change. Number 20, Liam Durkin, is going to replace number 30, James Ruddy. A man who caused so many problems against Charlestown, but he's limping as he goes off, James Ruddy. He's picked up a couple of bangs and knocks, I think, in there in front of the Garrymore goal, and his evening is over. Free taken, game restarts, Slattery, quick hands to Horkin, and now Trevor Nally. Again, his first instinct is to go forward. This is Mark Tierney, who looks so sharp, shoots on sight, just got a little nudge though, and he was off balance. and that goes away and wide. Garrymore actually had just one wide in the first half, and I think that may be just their second
wide, yeah.
They have been so economical, and so far so good for Damien Egan and his backroom team of Miles Fallon, Marty Maloney, Jarlath Farley, Shane Moran and David Hughes. Ball breaks kindly for Trevor Nally. No pressure on him. Has time to make a mistake, pick it, give it to Shane, and the sons of John Nally make it look very easy. Now Quillen Crowe, he's into Knockmore territory, fires a hand pass further than most men would kick it. He's that sort of player. Enda Varley, that trademark wrapped approach to taking the ball into the tackle. He had it tucked in under his oxter, held on too long. Use it or lose it, says Jerome Henry. Free to Knockmore. Another sweeping counter-attack. Aidan Orme starts it. It's continued here by Sean Holmes. Quick hand pass to the substitute, Burke. This is Orme again, trying to get onto his left foot, pursued by Oates and Hessian. Keith Rutledge, no way through the first time. The second runner, the second man trying to drive through is Peter Nyochton. He's soloing and shimmying and dummying for all he's worth. Manages to feed it back to a teammate, and that's a wild kick that flies well wide. And the Garrymore crowd love that.
That Garrymore defence are brilliant. Like their intensity, they're in on the bodies fast. They're given no time or room to Knockmore to take a shot at the goal. Just brilliant stuff.
Quick kick out from Brian Linsky. We're in the 11th minute of the second half, and if you're a Garrymore supporter, you're absolutely loving this. If you're from Knockmore, I'd imagine you're pacing the floor. Gary Golden takes a touch and another. Again, Knockmore back off a little. Eventually, he's tackled by Liam Durkin, and that's enough to knock him out of his stride. And as you can see,
just a bad decision, really. There, you know, he had time, he had players to get it back to there and hold on to possession.
You could see there, though, time of the essence. There was absolutely no question of Colm Reap letting that ball go dead. Knockmore now trying to get going, trying to get firing after misfiring for so long in this game. Kevin McLaughlin, pocket picked by David Dolan. Varley has caught McLaughlin. Well, the whistle had already sounded for a free to Kevin McLaughlin. I'm not quite sure if Enda Varley heard it. I think he's maintaining he didn't. But Kevin McLaughlin was blindsided.
And be yellow, I'd say, Mike. Yellow card, I would think.
Well, it's definitely some sort of a card. Of course, Enda and Kevin would know each other well. Soldiered together with Mayo for years. Yellow for Enda Varley. He's in the book. But that put a stop to any idea Knockmore had, Billy, of taking a quick free, shall we say.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
Now they take the free. King, driven backwards. David McHale, the county champions now, hanging on in there, trying to hang on to Garrymore's coattails almost. But a goal would change everything as we tiptoe closer and closer to the midway point in the second half. Sean Holmes trying to come forward. Now Orme to his partner in crime, Peter Nyochton, being confronted by Justin Commons. Now Shane McHale. How they're missing his brother Darren. McHale goes long. He's found Rutledge. Goal. Keith Rutledge pounces for Knockmore, and the goal that's been threatening to come for so long has arrived in the 43rd minute from the boot of Keith Rutledge, and the county champions are back in the game.
Yeah, they were looking for that goal all the time, Mike. We've been saying that you know, this goal was coming, and well, it has come.
Well, you'll enjoy watching replays of that if you're a Knockmore supporter. It was the pass from Shane McHale, who read the break so well, and the cool finish. If there was a daisy left in Bacon, it would have been taken out by that daisy cutter by Keith Rutledge. So 9 points, plays 1-5, and it's game on now in this first of the Connacht Gold semi-finals as Aidan Orme rattles Gary Golden and puts Golden on the ground, and Aidan Orme is going to be booked, I think, by Jerome Henry. Well, now this county semi-final has got us all interested again, Billy.
Yeah, it certainly has, yeah, and I suppose we've been saying it all night, Mike, that Knockmore were looking for that goal, and they just got the break that they needed to slip under Linsky. He had made a few great saves up to that, and the Garrymore defence had just done a great job on keeping out Knockmore, but they were looking for that goal.
Well, it's the 8th goal they've scored in the championship, the 8th goal they've scored in just over 4.5 matches, as Enda Hessian gets through at the other end. He's on a goal a game, remember, as well, and he's run out of road. He's run into the side netting, and it just got too tight in the end.
Yeah, he should have recycled it back out, I thought, Mike, you know.
Well, we mentioned it earlier. He's been so busy defending all night, he hasn't had a chance to get forward, but he's a real goal threat. And you'd imagine, given the state of play now, we're going to see more and more of Enda Hessian getting into the Knockmore danger zone. Well, it has certainly lived up to expectation, this county semi-final. A match that has really, in the build-up, captured the imagination of Knockmore and Garrymore supporters and neutrals as well. And tomorrow we'll get to do it all over again when Belmullet play Westport in Ballina, another game you can watch live on Mayo GA TV at 2 o'clock. Peter Knockton out through the side door to Liam Durkin. Back to the unmarked Shane McHale. All of a sudden it's Knockmore now who are starting to play with the confidence. McHale to Liam Durkin, and the impact sub kicks Knockmore back on terms. 1-6 to 9 points.
Yeah, they're just finding the gaps, Mike. They're finding the gaps in the Garrymore defence, which they hadn't been getting all night. But they just now in the last few attacks, they're finding those gaps.
Well, how quickly things have changed, and that now means that Knockmore have outscored Garrymore in this second half by 1-2 to a point. Things have changed so quickly and so utterly almost that you can feel the pendulum starting to swing. King to Durkin. Liam Durkin is finding so much space and getting on so much ball, and Garrymore are just struggling to keep tabs on him. Here's Aidan Orme. He's trying to lose Quillan Crowe. Runs right across the face of goal. Support has come from Conor Flynn. Shot half blocked. Spilled. Picked by Rutledge. Pierce Rutledge buries it. And the Rutledge brothers have struck for goals in this third quarter that have turned this semi-final right on its head. It was a mistake by Kenneth Lydon, the Garrymore fullback, who just couldn't get that ball under control. Pierce Rutledge in the right place at the right time, and he sent a bullet past Brian Linsky and into the back of the net. But Liam Durkin has made such an impact since he came in.
Yeah, he's just very, very sharp, Mike. Very, very sharp. But at this stage,
it's a second goal for Knockmore, and just look at the scoreline now. We're 46 minutes into this semi-final. We're 16 minutes into the second half. It's 2-6 for Knockmore. It's 9 points for Garrymore. And things are getting, they're getting tight, they're getting tense, and the champions have hit back.
Yeah, they've been threatening to get those goals all the time, Mike, you'd have to say. And is he gone? Black card?
Black card for Conall Dempsey, Billy.
Wow, that's a big call. Yeah, big call.
Well, that would be worth a second look. Conall Dempsey with a
pull down,
deliberate pull down from what we can gather. Yeah. His father Ray is prowling the sideline in front of us. Well, he's a real championship manager, Ray Dempsey. He loves these big games. They bring out the best in him, they bring out the best in his team, and it certainly has been the case in this third quarter. Remember, Knockmore were 4 points down at half-time and look to be in dire straits. They're now 3 points up, but they are down to 14 men again. That's worth remembering. Garrymore with an extra man for the next 10 minutes.
Well, they have this chance really to pull it back now, but you know, at the moment it's Knockmore finding the room and the space, Mike.
We're getting closer and closer, surely, to the water break that divides the third and fourth quarters as Charlie Burke feeds it inside. No mark called or taken. Charlie Burke has sprinted forward to get on the ball again, and it was Charlie Burke and Keith Rutledge that made the difference. And it's the Knockmore subs. It's the Charlie Burkes, the Keith Rutledges and the Liam Durkins, Billy, that have transformed this game.
Made a huge difference, but you'd have to say that the Garrymore defence is not as good as it was. Knockmore are finding the space now to create the scores, and you know, this should be a point for Knockton.
Well, if Peter Knockton steers this between the posts, it will mean that Knockmore have outscored Gary 1-4 to a point since half-time. And you can see the Garrymore management team just to our right. They're in a huddle. They're in the war room, as it were, getting ready to take action because something has to change as Bacon falls silent and Peter Knockton takes great care and strokes it up and over the bar. Well, that's just why for the last couple of seasons he's been the Golden Boot winner in the club championship. And that kick from Peter Knockton signals the water break and how things have changed. Knockmore 2-7, Garrymore 9 points. Of course, that makes it 2-3 to a point since the half-time break. I had knocked off one of the Knockmore goals there, but the Rutledge brothers, Billy, goals win games, and they got them.
They were very good, very sharp, and when those kind of chances fall to you, you have got to take them. Whereas in the first half, they were getting the chances, but the Garrymore defence were much tighter, much better, Mike. But Knockmore are finding the space now. They're looking to get the goals, and they worked them 2 goals there. But there's more goals in them, you'd have to say. Whereas at the other end of the field, Garrymore are not threatening. They're not threatening the Knockmore goal. They're not threatening to get a goal.
2 goals in 2 minutes from Keith Rutledge and Pierce Rutledge have turned this semi-final on its head. We're watching the Garrymore huddle, Billy. I think it's Jarlath Varley who's talking at the moment, Damien Egan, the manager, making his point as well. What are they saying? Or more importantly, what can they do now to change this?
Yeah, they've got to get back into where they were, Mike. They've really gone out of the game since half-time, you'd have to say. And Knockmore, well, you have to give them credit. They've thundered into the game now, and they're taking the game to Garrymore. Whereas in the first half, it was Garrymore taking the game to them.
So the teams go back into their positions. Garrymore still have that extra man, remember, Conal Dempsey still in the sin bin. But Garrymore now, with it all to do, they really have been rocked by those goals, by the Rutledges. As we get ready to buckle up and strap ourselves in for the last 15 minutes or so. It's all to play for. A place in the county senior football final tomorrow fortnight up for grabs for Knockmore and Garrymore. The winners here will play either Belmullet or Westport in the 2021 county final. McLaughlin driving Knockmore forward again. Links with Rutledge, off balance, high and over the bar. Well, Keith Rutledge, his quality, his class has never been in doubt. He has suffered so much with injuries over the years, but he's been fit enough to come on here at half-time, and he's been fit enough to land Knockmore's 8th point of this county semi-final to make it 2-8-9, and that is the last thing Garrymore needed or wanted as the county champions, Billy, finally begin to play like we knew they could.
Exactly, yeah, but McLaughlin really made that score there, took the ball out near the sideline, mid space and cut inside and gave the pass off to Rutledge.
Well, when their backs have been to the wall, we have seen what Knockmore are made of again. Now we wait for Garrymore's response. Enda Hessian gives it off outside to Golden. Hessian had continued the run, but the pass was played behind him, and Enda Hessian had his back to the ball. And that was just a breakdown in communications, cross wires. Garrymore, by the way, getting ready to make a double substitution. Any moment now, they'll be bringing in Michael Connolly and Brendan Welch. They're ready to go. Over on the far side, though, Knockmore continue on their merry way, feeding that inside line every chance they get. What about that for a chip lift? And what about that for a score? Remember the name, Liam Durkin. Oh, that's a glorious point with 10 minutes to go in the county semi-final. He's still a young man. I think he's not long out of minor. He chipped it with the right. He kicked it with the left. 2-9, plays 9 points.
Yeah, and those subs have really come good for Knockmore, Mike. Burke and Durkin there, and Keith Rutledge then, and they're just they've added that little bit to the Knockmore attack, which wasn't there in the first half.
Well, Garrymore are making those changes, and in come Michael Connolly. He turns 31, or 32 rather, in a few weeks' time. He's in to replace Justin Commons, and the second Garrymore man who has come on is Brendan Welch. We'll try and put a name on who's come off for him in just a moment. Back in the game. Time now is running out for Garrymore. They've fallen 6 points behind. There's been a 10-point swing. Now there's a goal chance. It's a goal chance for Horkin. It's saved firstly. Horkin drives the second chance high and wide. While Colm Reap has come to Knockmore's rescue yet again with a terrific save to deny Liam O'Corkin the first time, and the young wing forward has blazed the follow-up shot wide. How did Garrymore not get the goal they so badly need?
Yeah, with a great chance, Mike. Maybe a little bit more carry. He had space to carry that ball, get it in tighter to the goalie and slip it in. He just took the shot too early. It was a real goal chance. But then Liam O'Corkin came through. But again, he was off balance kicking. He was off balance when he was just about to kick and kicked it wide.
Well, Colm Reap is still down, as you can see, receiving treatment. I think he felt the full force of the size 5 there, and he's going to need a couple of moments to himself, shall we say, just to gather his thoughts and check that everything is where it should be.
Yeah, it was a great save, Mike. It was a top-class save.
Good to see him back on his feet again. It was a top-class save from a man I think we're going to hear an awful lot more about in the years to come. He's the man that played for so many years of his career in the full forward line and up front for Knockmore teams, and then a vacancy appeared and he found himself in goal, and the rest is history. So 2-9 to 9 points. The county champions Knockmore still on course for those back-to-back county final wins, but Garrymore, well, they won't die wondering, and they're not going to die away either. Cathal Slattery pops it forward to Liam O'Corkin. That's high from Conor Flynn. Garrymore will get a free in. A Garrymore team, by the way, have scored just 1 point in this second half. 1 point, while down at the other end, Knockmore have filled their boots with 2-5. And the swing, Billy, the 10-point swing has been incredible.
It was hard to see it really, Mike, at half time. That kind of a swing, because Knockmore wasn't going well at all.
So the free from Darren Quinn is popped up and over the bar. Darren Quinn from Foxhall just gets that scoreboard moving again, crucially from a Garrymore perspective. But you get the feeling now, Billy, at this stage in the game, they need a goal or two.
Oh, certainly, yeah, they need a goal to get back into the game, Mike, at this stage. Yes.
But we do know just how hard it is to break down this Knockmore defence, a defence that has been handcrafted by the likes of Terry Kennedy and Alan Malloy on the training ground. They are so well organised. They are so difficult to penetrate. Orm back to the wing back, Nathan Armstrong. Man making an angle for himself is Keith Rutledge, and he's dragged that wide on his own side, but at this stage in the game, maybe as good as a score. Another Garrymore substitute getting ready to come in. It's number 19, Patrick Hessian, older brother of Enda. We're in the 55th minute, 5 minutes to go. Well, who could have imagined this second half, the way it's played out at half-time? It looked Garrymore's game to lose, and right now it is in more ways than one, as Darren Quinn tries to shrug aside the attentions of Sean Holmes. He kicks it high and he kicks it wide. Just seemed to get caught on the wind, and now Garrymore will make that change, and it is the 23-year-old Patrick Hessian who will come in. He is the cut of Enda Hessian, in fairness, the way he made his introduction there. And it's Trevor Nally who's coming out, and Trevor has given absolutely everything he has, Billy.
Yeah, he must have maybe picked up an injury at some stage during the game.
So Trevor Nally is off and Patrick Hessian is in. But can Garrymore find the scores they need? Connolly lays it off to Brendan Welsh under pressure from Liam Durkin, who just gave him a nudge in the back. That was enough to knock him off balance. Free to Garrymore. Michael Connolly wants to take it quickly. Goes back as far as Kenneth Lydon. They need now to get the likes of Enda Hessian and Quillan Crowe and the line breakers, the decision makers on the ball. Here's Patrick Hessian. Cathal Slattery is just ahead of him. Instead he goes to play it inside to Quinn. Man taken down on the run is David Dolan, and that's a free in just outside the 14-yard line. Well, they got what they came for.
Yeah, well, and if they keep knocking off the odd point here and there now, Mike, you know, and get it back to a 3-point game, you know, into the last few minutes, it'd be a one-score game. So that's really what they need to do now.
2 in a row for Garrymore, 2 in a row for Darren Quinn. The gap is back just to be that little bit more manageable. 4 points 3.5 minutes of normal time to play.
Dempsey's in now.
And back comes big Conal Dempsey. So 15 plays 15. We're in the 57th minute, heading towards the 58th of this Connacht Gold Mayo Senior Club Football Championship semi-final. And it's the men from the parish of the Backs who are 4 points in front and 2 weeks away from another county final. But is there to be another twist? Is there to be a late Garrymore goal that will leave us all on the edge of our seats? Shane Nally lobs this ball in. Dangerous ball it is. Taken back there by who else? Conal Dempsey. Back in the game and back on the ball again. And considering he was under 20 this year, Billy, he's a very clever footballer.
He looks a fine footballer.
Ball worked out of trouble by Knockmore. Shane McHale. Well, man and ball both went over the line. I don't envy the linesman Ronan Gurran right now, Billy.
No, I don't. He's under pressure there. I think it's a Knockmore ball, according to him. So
I think he'd only be delighted if the 2 metre rule was being enforced over there, but everyone is telling Ronan, I think, what he should do. He stands his ground and play stopped anyway. One of the players just needs a bit of attention, and when it does restart, it will be a Knockmore line ball. And all those kind of 50-50 decisions, the bounces of the ball, Billy, they're going Knockmore's way now.
Going their way at this stage, yes.
We're in the 59th minute of this county semi-final, as Kevin McLaughlin puts boot to ball and knocks it deep into the Garrymore half of the field, as far away from the Knockmore goal as possible. Won back there by Brendan Welsh. Garrymore's quest to reach a first county final in 39 years. Is it set to come up short again? That's Aidan Orme, who's been pulled back right in front of Jerome Henry. And if he saw who did that, it could well be a black card. But
yeah,
I think
probably yellow. I think at this stage maybe.
He has the book out all right.
Yeah.
But I think at this stage of the day, Jerome Henry is happy enough to give a tick. But all of this plays right into Knockmore's hands, of course. A Knockmore team who had to bounce back from that second round defeat to Belmullet down in Tala just a few short weeks ago. But they got back on track with the 2 big wins against Charlestown and Ballintubber. And I can imagine later on tonight, if it stays like this, the name of Ryan McDonnell will pop up in a few conversations in the clubhouse in Knockmore late into the night. He's the goalkeeper that made the save, that denied that equalising goal for Tubber. Nyachton's free, back off the post. We're going to have at least 5 minutes of additional time. Well, that's exactly what Garrymore will have wanted to hear, and that was a very uncharacteristic miss by Nyachten.
It was. I mean, it was a very simple kick-over point.
So Garrymore now have 5 minutes to get the goal and the point they need to get back on level terms. But how would you go about it, Billy, if you were calling the shots out there?
It's very hard, because Knockmore are going to put numbers back now. I'd imagine Knockmore will put numbers back.
Knockmore will park the bus, says Billy Fitz. Right now, Garrymore have parked Darren Quinn in on the edge of the square. Not too far away from him are David Dolan and Michael Connolly, as Garrymore have a free out around the middle of the field. Everybody except Keith Rutledge in a Knockmore jersey is back inside their own 45. Terry Kennedy, I can hear him away to my left, organising the Knockmore defence. The well-known basketball coach Slattery tries to play a little pop pass through a gap, but the gap closed very quickly. McLaughlin's after him. There was a tug on the jersey. Free to Garrymore. The clock continues to tick down. We're into stoppage time. The first of the 5 minutes is almost over. As forward come Garrymore. Ball played outside by Patrick Hessian, knocked in across the face of goal and knocked away and wide. Another missed chance.
Yeah, just not on to take those kind of shots at this stage of the game when you're trying to get a goal, Mike, to get back into the game. You need to be very patient. You need to work it through the lines and get it in tight to goal to have a go at getting the goal.
Well, they have put 3 points on the board in this second half, Garrymore. All frees, 1 from Mark Tierney, 2 from Darren Quinn. And therein lies a huge part of the problem as Kevin McLaughlin claims the mark from the kick-out. Liam Durkin with a lovely ball to Burke. They're hunting goal number 3. It's Rutledge, and Keith Rutledge takes his point. Well, it pushes Knockmore just that little bit further in front, but if you want to talk about fast break football, that was it.
I mean, McLaughlin there, he took the mark, but once he did, the ball was gone to the free man from Knockmore to get through and get the score.
And crucially again, Billy, it was Liam Durkin, Keith Rutledge, all involved again. The subs that have tormented Garrymore in the second half. Now, Garrymore will try once again to find a way through. Man being held there was Brendan Welch, but he manages to deliver the pass to Quinn, who spins and shoots, and that shot hits the post and drops wide.
Just not happening for Garrymore in this second half, you know. It has all got against them. First half, everything was going right for them. Knockmore, nothing going right for them. But in this second half, it has really turned around, and it's all about Knockmore.
Well, I'm sure Garrymore, people watching in right now, would feel at times in the second half, if they didn't have bad luck, they wouldn't have any luck. They just, as Billy said, the little things have gone against them here and there, but Knockmore have been so impressive when they have moved up through the gears, when they've found their true form. And this second half performance, remember, achieved without their injured talisman, Darren McHale. 2 goals and 6 points they've scored in the second half. We're in the 4th minute of additional time. We were told we'd have at least 5. David McHale as Knockmore play keep ball and keep Garrymore at a comfortable distance. The champions lead by 5. They're a little casual though with that pass, and Shane McHale has had to risk life and limb, and he's gone in hard and he's been hurt, and he's been caught by Shane Nally. And it's a free when the play restarts to Knockmore, and that's probably that.
Yeah, well, it's the hallmark of Knockmore. They put their bodies on the line, Mike, you know, and that's the way they play. And that was a ball that he was very brave on to go into, because it looked like it was Shane Nally's ball, but he just threw his body on the line and went in for it.
Well, of that 2-6 I mentioned in the second half that Knockmore have scored, by my count, 2-5 of it has come from open play. And it's been the usual suspects, Pierce Rutledge and Keith Rutledge scoring the goals. Their father Desi, of course, a legend in the Knockmore club, a man who knows what it takes to win county titles, as do his sons, who picked up their first medals last year. And they'll get another shot at the title tomorrow fortnight against Belmullet or Westport. And tomorrow's semi-final, Billy, that is going to be another humdinger.
It will, yeah, but I'm just looking through the names of McHale, Flynn, King, all those kind of guys that played way back in the 70s. And their names are now appearing again, Rutledge and all those guys.
Yeah, the next generation coming through in both of these clubs, keeping them at the business end of the championship, as Garrymore are left frustrated again because they've given away a free and it's a cheap one, and it gives Knockmore a chance to apply some gloss to the final scoreline. Garrymore are making one last late change. Kieran Cunningham, the 34-year-old great servant of the club, he's coming in to replace Quillan Crowe, who, as we mentioned, celebrates his 30th birthday tomorrow and who played through the pain barrier this evening, and you can see now it's finally taken its toll. He is limping towards the sideline, but what a warrior Quillan Crowe is, Billy, and without him there's no doubt Garrymore would not have been here tonight, and he has literally pushed himself to the limit again.
One of the best defenders in Mayo, you'd have to say, without a shadow of doubt, Mike, and you know, you can see him carrying that knee now. Yeah,
real pity that Quillan Crowe sees his evening end like this, as we turn our focus to Conall Dempsey. He takes over the free-taking duties here, and this, you'd imagine, may well be the last kick of the game, certainly one of them. Conall Dempsey takes as much time over that one as he would a kick at the beginning of the game, and that's it, it's all over. The final whistle sounds
Ray Dempsey punches the air with satisfaction and delight. Knockmore, the county champions, march on. They've beaten Garrymore by 210 to 11 points, having trailed at half-time by 8 points to 4. And I think the message Knockmore have sent in that second half, Billy, and they've sent it loud and clear, they haven't gone away and they're still the team to beat.
Yeah, they certainly are, Mike. And, after the first half, I was saying, the champions are under pressure. But, they showed the true grit of champions there in that second half, Mike. They were in trouble, there's no doubt about that. That had all to do, but they came out and done it. And what they were threatening in the first half, Mike, it came to pass in the second half. They were creating them goal chances in that first half, but Garrymore defence stood firm and they were getting in the fast tackles and they were turning over the ball. But in the second half, Mike, the openings were there. They were creating the openings and they got the goals.
If I was to ask you, Billy, what will Garrymore's biggest regret be after this county semi-final? What would you say?
Not to play in the second half, that's it, Mike. You just can't play a half at this level of championship, at semi-final level. You have to come out second half and really go at it, and Garrymore didn't. They faded away out of the game completely, and that kind of disappoints me really, because they look so fit and fast and doing everything right in the first half, and just all of a sudden, they turn the switch off. Now, I know Knockmore turned the switch on, Mike, which put the pressure back on Garrymore. But when Garrymore look back at this now, they'll be very disappointed, because they had everything done right in preparation. This team was well prepared, great backroom team, great manager, and they had all the work done that should be done, or could be done. And, when they look back on it, they just say, well, where to from now? Like a lot of those guys, the likes of David Dolan and Shane Nally, Trevor Nally, time kind of running out on those lads. And it's very hard to replace those kind of guys, because they're the backbone of the team over the last couple of years.
Billy, in just a second, I'd love to get your selection for man of the match, because I know it's something that everyone likes to hear and everyone has an opinion on. But before I do, just final question for you. The question was posed during the week, just how big of an advantage is it to Knockmore that they've been in this position before and they've won a county semi-final? You got the feeling in that second half that all that experience was invaluable.
Yeah, it's something that comes with champions, Mike, You can be going bad and all of a sudden you can pull it out of the bag, and that's the hallmark of great champions. And you have to be through those kind of big games, semi-finals and finals before. And for Garrymore, it was all new maybe to them this year, after last year a very disappointing year. This year, well, a good year, and getting to a county semi-final is something for them. But they'll be terribly disappointed tonight, Mike, with that second half performance.
And Billy, last word to you. Who's your man of the match?
Sure, I can't pass corner forwards, Mike, and I'm known to pick a corner forward every time. But my God, Rutledge.
Keith Rutledge.
Keith Rutledge, with 2 goals and a couple of points. Was it 1 goal?
Yeah, Pierce got one. Keith got the first one. Yeah.
Well, I'll divide it between the two of them, but
one of the Rutledges.
It'll go to the house anyway. But, I think Keith was very good.
Yeah, made a big impact. Keith Rutledge hit a goal and a point after coming in off the bench, and he's Billy's selection for man of the match. That's it from us. My thanks to Billy for his company and his analysis all night long. We're almost out of time. Don't forget, second Connacht Gold Mayo Senior Club Football Championship semi-final coming up tomorrow at 2 o'clock. The meeting of Belmullet and Westport at James Stephens Park in Ballina. We will talk to you then. But just to recap, final scoreline from the Connacht Centre of Excellence here in Bacon. It has finished Knockmore 210, Garrymore 11 points.